I never thought I'd end up in a situation like this. I've always kept my distance from drama, especially family drama. My younger brother Nick has always attracted trouble like a magnet. Smart, charming, always lucky with women, but completely irresponsible. I was the opposite. Steady job, mortgage, quiet weekends, stable relationship, no real highs or lows. People always compared us, and I usually came out looking like the boring one. I got used to being the safe brother. Our parents liked it that way. I didn't cause trouble, didn't ask for money, didn't call them in the middle of the night needing a rescue. Everything changed in mid-March. It was past 11 when someone knocked on my door. I live alone on the 3rd floor, so surprise visits are rare. Nick stood there on the doorstep, wearing a wrinkled shirt and black jacket, eyes red. He had a half-empty bottle of bourbon in his hand. He smelled like cigarettes, even though he supposedly quit 2 years ago. "Oh, great," I muttered, stepping aside. He walked right in like it was his place, flopped down on the couch, and stared at the wall. I closed the door, already feeling irritation bubbling up. We hadn't talked in weeks. Last time was when I refused to get involved in one of his sketchy business ideas. After that, he ghosted the group chat and didn't even show up at Mom's birthday dinner. "What's going on?" He didn't answer right away. Just poured himself a drink straight from the bottle, then poured one for me, into a coffee mug, because he couldn't find a glass. He sat leaning forward, elbows on knees, staring at the floor. I stood there, feeling the cold from the door creeping into the room. "I fucked up," he finally said. I sat down next to him, holding the mug I didn't want. "What happened?" "I cheated on Kate," he said quietly. It was like the sound just dropped out of the room. Silence. Even the fridge seemed to stop humming. Or maybe it was just in my head. I looked at him, trying to make sure I'd heard right. "What?" "It went on for a few months. Some girl from work. It started after Christmas. At the office party, you know how those go. Then it kept going. And now it's over. I ended it. I know I'm a piece of shit. I don't even know why I came here. Guess I needed someone to know." I didn't say anything. There wasn't much I could say that didn't involve yelling or throwing him out. I'd known Kate for 10 years. She wasn't just my brother's wife, she was like family. Thoughtful, genuine, loyal to a fault. I'd lost count of how many times she'd called me crying when Nick pulled one of his stunts. She stuck by him through everything. She deserved better. "Are you going to tell her?" "No, of course not. What would that fix? It's done. I'm not an idiot. I get it now. I just, don't say anything, okay?" "Nick," I said, "don't. It's not your business. I've got it handled." He said it sharp, with a tone that meant don't push it. That's how Nick works. He gets defensive when things start to slip. We sat there another 20 minutes, barely talking. He looked empty, like someone who'd run out of ways to lie even to himself. But under my sympathy, I felt something else, anger. I wasn't 20 anymore. I didn't want to be the guy who kept his mouth shut for the sake of keeping peace. The days that followed were weird. I tried to stay busy, but every time Kate messaged me, I felt sick. She asked if I could help set up Sophie's birthday party. She wanted to go all out, unicorn-themed everything. I said yes, of course. How could I not? But now every interaction with her felt like a betrayal. The party itself was loud and cheerful. Kids running around, confetti everywhere, cartoon music playing on loop, a giant pink cake with a plastic unicorn topper. I got there early to help decorate. Kate hugged me, full of energy, laughed when I put on one of the party hats. She was the same as always, warm, organized, trying her best. And that's what killed me. "Thanks so much," she said. "I couldn't have pulled this off without you." I didn't answer, just nodded. Nick showed up later, gifts in hand, kissed Kate, scooped up their daughter like everything was normal. I watched them pose for family photos, Nick making dumb faces to get the kids to laugh, Kate grinning like she had everything she ever wanted. And I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. Everyone else was celebrating. I was the only one who knew there was a crack in the foundation. After the party, when most people left, I stayed to help clean up. Nick sat in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, drinking a beer. I tied up a trash bag and then sat across from him. "You have to tell her." He didn't look up at first. "Are we really doing this again?" "Yes, because it's not going away. I told you, I ended it. It's done." "That's not the point." He looked at me now, annoyed. "It's none of your business. You don't get it. Things are complicated. She trusts you. And I broke that. I know. I feel like shit. But I'll fix it. You don't need to get involved. You sure about that? Yes. He took another swig of beer. The conversation was over. I drove home late, the streets mostly empty. The city was quiet, lit by the glow of streetlights and the occasional passing car. Through apartment windows, I saw little moments. Someone watching TV, someone brushing their hair, someone laughing with a partner. And I kept thinking maybe behind those walls, there were other lies too. Other people holding secrets. Other brothers choosing silence. But silence is a choice too. I lay in bed that night, eyes open, staring into the dark, repeating one line over and over in my head. It's none of my business. But God, it feels like it is. I tried to forget. I thought that if I didn't talk about it, if I just kept moving forward, it would fade away. But it didn't. It sat inside me like a bone caught in my throat, and every day it made itself known. Especially when I saw Kate. Her texts, her calls, the pictures she sent, they all felt like needles. Because she didn't know, and I did, and every day that passed, it got harder to live with. One day she sent me a photo. Nick with the kids at the park. Swings in the background, Nick holding Mia's hands, Sophie laughing mid-jump. The caption read, "Look what a hero Dad is today." I stared at my phone. I knew that Nick had just gotten back from a 2-day business trip to Baltimore that was actually a rendezvous with that same woman he'd confessed about. I knew he was lying. And Kate was smiling, and I felt like I was holding up the lie on my own back, like some miserable scaffolding. I started noticing more. The way she ironed his shirts while he drank coffee. The way she placed his plate without asking. How she defended him to our parents when he forgot about another family dinner. I realized this wasn't just about being mad at Nick. I hurt for her belief in him, for her warmth toward a man who had long since stopped deserving it. I tried bringing it up again. A couple of times. One time, after a Sunday lunch at our parents' place, we stepped outside together, and I just said it. You need to tell her. He stopped, didn't turn around. We're doing this again? Yes. Because nothing has changed. It's over. I don't see her anymore. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Don't turn me into some villain. You're not a villain for messing up. You're a villain for pretending nothing happened. He turned to me sharply. And what are you? A judge? A savior? I told you, I'll handle it. This isn't your damn business. Then he walked off before I could respond. After that, he went quiet. No texts, no calls. Not even in the family chat. Only Kate stayed in touch, cheerful as ever. She invited me over for a Sunday dinner, just the family. I said yes. I wasn't sure why. Maybe I wanted to believe it wasn't as bad as it felt. Or maybe I wanted proof. Their house smelled like food and felt full of life. Sophie was drawing on the floor. Mia was chasing bubbles that Kate shot from a plastic toy. Nick came out of the shower in a clean shirt, his hair wet. And he looked happy, calm, like nothing ever happened. He joked with the kids, made silly faces, taught Mia how to fold napkins into swans. And I sat there in that warm, comfortable, beautifully fake world, and I felt like I was rotting inside. Thank you, Kate said as we cleaned up together. You're really part of the team. I'd lose my mind without you. Nick tries, he really does, but you just know how to be there. Without all the extra words. That's rare, without all the words. I nodded, and nearly choked. That wasn't gratitude, that was a sentence. She had no idea how deep my silence ran. The next day, I met with Josh, an old friend who's a therapist. We hadn't seen each other in months, but he could tell something was eating at me the second I walked in. We sat in his office, warm, neutral, smelled like lavender. I told him everything, in detail, no filters. This isn't about morality, he said when I was done. It's about boundaries, where your responsibility ends and hers begins. Yes, you know, but you're not part of their marriage. You're the brother, not the partner, not the court. It's not that simple. What if she finds out and learns I knew? Then she'll be hurt, she'll get angry, and then she'll decide what to do with that. But that's her process, not yours. What about my conscience? Conscience is tricky. It wants to be heard. But sometimes it screams from fear, not truth. I left not knowing if I felt lighter or worse. That evening, I told Liz, my girlfriend. We've been together nearly a year, low drama, quiet kind of love. I didn't give her all the details, just the core of it. I'd want to know, she said. Even if it wrecked everything. Better that than being played for a fool. But you're not a mom of two. You're not married. Still a person. Still don't want to live in a lie. Ever. What if she breaks? Then she breaks. But on the truth. Not because everyone kept their mouths shut. She looked at me for a long time, then said, "You're not keeping quiet for her. You're doing it for him. You're afraid to lose your brother." That hit hard, because maybe it was true. I didn't want to admit it, but yeah, if I said something, maybe Nick would never speak to me again. Maybe that scared me more than I realized. But staying silent was eating me alive. On Saturday night, I was at their place again. Nick barely spoke to me. Kate asked if I could stay with the girls while they went grocery shopping. I said yes. We read picture books with Sophie. Mia fell asleep on my chest. I carried her to her room, tucked her in. Then I sat on the floor next to her bed. The room was warm, dimly lit. A soft glow from the nightlight spread over the wall. I could hear Sophie's steady breathing in the next room. Kate came in a few minutes later. Quietly, on her toes. She stood by the door, watching Mia sleep. Then she walked over and sat beside me. Her hand rested gently on my shoulder. I could feel her warmth. Her trust. It was the heaviest touch I've ever felt. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're like a second dad to them. Sometimes more than Nick." I couldn't say a word. I just stared at Mia, then at Kate. And I knew, if I heard her say thank you one more time, I'd fall apart. That night I didn't sleep. I sat out on my balcony, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the streetlights reflecting off the wet asphalt. Cars passed. In the lit windows of the apartments across the street, I saw little flashes of other lives. And I thought only one thing: how'd I say it? How'd I destroy someone's home so that maybe, just maybe, something honest can be built in its place? I didn't know when, or if I'd have the courage. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't stay silent any longer. I'd been putting it off for so long that I almost convinced myself I'd never go through with it. It was a wet, gray Sunday morning, the sky heavy and low, the air leaden. Bare trees lined the sidewalks, the wind chased plastic bags along the pavement. I drove to the cafe gripping the steering wheel like I could somehow hold onto a decision I already knew couldn't be undone. Texting Kate turned out to be easier than I thought. "We need to talk." "It's important," she replied almost instantly. "Is something wrong with Nick?" I didn't know how to answer. I just sent her the cafe address and the time. I got there first. The cafe was nearly empty, just a couple with laptops by the window and a woman in the corner rocking a stroller. The place smelled like wet coats and coffee. Music hummed low, wordless. I ordered an espresso and sat by the window, staring out at the street like it held some kind of answer. Kate arrived 10 minutes later. No makeup, gray coat, knit hat. She looked tired, but not disheveled, put together in that quiet, inner way she always carried herself. She sat down across from me, slipped off her gloves, and gave me a wary look. "You're acting weird," she said. "Everything okay?" I couldn't speak at first. My hands trembled. I gripped the cup. The bitter coffee scorched my tongue, grounding me just enough. "Kate." My voice cracked immediately. "There's something I need to tell you. It's serious." She frowned, her fingers going still on the table. "Is it about Nick?" I nodded, took a breath. Everything I'd rehearsed vanished. He cheated on you." Her face went still, frozen, like the words didn't make sense coming from me. "What?" "For a few months. With someone from work. He told me himself. It ended. At least that's what he said. But I can't keep it to myself anymore." Silence. I could hear condensation dripping from the vent, a spoon clinking in a nearby cup. The world kept making noise, but between us, nothing. "This," she started, her voice breaking. "This is insane. Why would you say that to me?" "Because you deserve to know." "Did you see them together?" "No." He told me directly. "So you're blowing up my life over hearsay?" "It's not hearsay, Kate. It was a confession." She turned to the window, blinking fast. Tears welled up but didn't fall. She clenched her hands in her lap. "I didn't want to know this," she said finally. "You should have kept it to yourself." "I'm sorry." She stood. No drama, no yelling. Just absence. She slipped her coat back on, shoved her hands into her pockets, and left without another word. Her steps crunched on the damp sidewalk outside. I sat for another 10 minutes, unable to move. My hands were shaking, legs numb. The barista watched me from the counter like I was someone best left alone, and he wasn't wrong. The next day, everything collapsed. My phone rang at 9 a.m. Nick. I hesitated, then picked up. I regretted it instantly. You serious? He yelled before I could speak. You fucking told her? Who the hell do you think you are? Nick, you destroyed my family. Do you even get that? She took the kids and went to her mom's. You think you're some kind of hero? She had the right to know. No, that was my life. My mistake. My call. And you're no one. You're a fucking traitor. He hung up before I could reply. An hour later, my mom called. You told Kate? She asked, voice flat, tired. Yes, I said. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Why did you interfere? That was their marriage. They could have worked it out. That wasn't your place, son. He betrayed her. She deserved the truth. You made everything worse. You broke their family. No, he did that, and you helped. The call ended there. No yelling, no curses. Just that line. You made everything worse. That's when I felt it shift. No one disowned me. No one said I was dead to them. But I became something else, an outsider. Someone they now spoke to with caution, like I'd brought something dirty into the house. I was alone. Nick blocked me on everything. Kate went silent. My parents spoke to me in polite tones, the warmth gone. And for the first time, I understood what it meant to be truly isolated. When you know you did the right thing, and still end up with nothing. I sat in my kitchen that night, in the dark, with a mug of cold tea and one question eating me from the inside out. Was it worth it? It looked different in my head. I thought I'd feel lighter. Like truth was supposed to bring peace. But all it brought was silence. Because no one said thank you. No one said I'd done the right thing. They just stepped back, like I'd tracked mud through a clean house. Maybe I did ruin everything. Maybe if I'd kept quiet, Nick would have come around. Maybe they would have figured it out on their own. Maybe truth isn't medicine, it's poison. I didn't know, nobody did, but now it was out there. Spoken, and there was no taking it back. It had been just over 3 weeks since that morning at the cafe. Rain had become a kind of background music. Wet streets, gray skies, a cold wind that slipped under your collar even through the thickest coat. Spring didn't seem in a hurry to arrive. Something inside me wasn't arriving either. Not peace, not relief, not closure. I found out about the divorce not from Kate, but from my mother. Her call came in the evening, casual like any other check-in. Kate filed the papers, she said flatly. Nick moved out, he's staying with Jeremy. Sophie cries at night. Mia doesn't understand yet, she's too little. I listened in silence. Her voice was calm, but I knew her too well. She didn't want to cry over the phone. I'm not excusing him, she added after a pause. But maybe you acted too fast. Maybe they could have worked it out on their own. I didn't respond. Anything I said would sound like an excuse. And I was tired of justifying myself, even to me. After that call, the slow drift began. Not dramatic, not obvious, but real. Invitations stopped coming. No Sunday dinners from Aunt Lena. The family group chat went quiet. No one discussed scheduling a get-together. Even Dad, usually reserved, had grown quieter when I stopped by their place. Like he didn't want to say anything that might put him on my side. Nick was telling his version of things. That I had crossed a line, that I never really supported him, that I wanted to feel superior, that I ruined his marriage out of spite. I heard it from my cousin. Then from a mutual friend. Everyone said the same thing. I'm not blaming you, but maybe you should have stayed out of it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell each of them that silence would have made me complicit. That I didn't do this to be a hero or a villain. But then I realized, they didn't care. They just needed someone to blame. And it was easier if that someone was me. Kate was silent. No texts. No responses. Even the usual birthday card the kids used to draw with her, nothing this year. And I didn't hold it against her. I understood. I was a trigger, a reminder, a turning point she never asked for. But slowly, something else crept in. Not joy, not pride, just a strange, quiet relief. Like something rotten had finally been cut out. Like I could breathe again, even if it hurt. I didn't have to pretend anymore. Didn't have to look at Nick and act like nothing was wrong. Didn't have to laugh at his jokes while resenting every word. I had lost a lot, but I had kept myself. And that was strange. New. Bare. I found myself thinking about our childhood. How Nick always got into trouble, and I always covered for him. When he broke a neighbor's window, I said it was me. When he stole $20 from Mom, I said I needed ice cream. I was 7, he was 5. Back then, I thought I was protecting my brother. Later, I told myself I just didn't like conflict. But now I saw it clearly. I had been silent my whole life. For peace. For comfort. And that kind of peace is fragile. It shatters. Now, for the first time, I didn't cover for him. I didn't close my eyes. And even though everything blew up, it was honest. I started sitting alone on my kitchen floor at night, tea cooling beside me, just thinking. Replaying moments, wondering. If I could go back, would I stay quiet? Maybe. Probably. But then I'd imagine Kate smiling while Nick texted someone else. I'd see the kids playing while their father lied every night. And it made me sick. No, I had done what I had to. Doing the right thing doesn't mean it feels good. One night, after a long day, I came home late. Rain was falling again. I took off my coat, made tea, left the lights low, habit by now. Less light, fewer thoughts. I sat down, opened my phone, expecting nothing. There was a message. From Kate. Just 6 words. Thank you. I needed to know. I stared at it, thinking it had to be a mistake. Reread it. Double-checked. It was her number. Her voice. No punctuation. No emojis. I sat there, shaking. Not from joy, but from release. This wasn't forgiveness. Or reconciliation. It was acknowledgement. The truth mattered. The information was real. It wasn't pointless. I didn't reply. I didn't know what to say. I just set the phone down on the table, closed my eyes, and breathed in for the first time in weeks. It didn't fix anything, but damn, it meant everything. Several months had passed. Summer had started to give way. Cooler evenings, yellow-tinged leaves, that first hint of the season changing. Outside the bus window, familiar streets blurred by, but they didn't feel like home anymore. Too much had changed. Too much couldn't be taken back. Nick had left town. He was working in Philadelphia, supposedly for a logistics company. Renting a place, living alone. At first, he visited the kids every other weekend. Then once a month. Now, from what I heard, he just sends money and calls on Sundays. No one in the family really talks about it. But if the topic comes up, the room tightens, like the air gets heavier. Kate, somehow, was rebuilding. At least on the outside. She started a new Instagram, running a kind of mom blog. Posting photos, recipes, little parenting tips. Sophie started first grade. Mia was learning to speak in full sentences and demanding that everything be pink. I'd see their faces in pictures and feel something pull inside me. Kate and I hadn't spoken since that one message. No calls, no texts, nothing. I never tried to push. I knew it wasn't a conversation, it was closure. I accepted that, but acceptance didn't stop the ache. The family hadn't forgiven me either. Or at least, that's how it felt. A few weeks ago, my cousin had a birthday party. I sat at a separate table like a kid in timeout. No one was openly rude. No one confronted me. But the way they looked at me, like I was the guy who did the right thing the wrong way, was hard to ignore. Conversations paused when I entered rooms. People avoided eye contact. Those closer to our parents seemed awkward. Those closer to Nick kept their distance. Only my 80-something grandfather, during dinner, leaned in and said, "You did the right thing." Truth always costs more. I smiled, but didn't know how to reply. Sometimes I wonder, maybe I really did ruin something that could have been fixed. Maybe if I'd kept quiet, Kate would have forgiven him. Maybe the kids could have grown up with both parents. Maybe families survive on secrets sometimes. Maybe honesty is a luxury people can't afford. But then I remember Nick that night, drunk, guilty, begging me not to interfere. I remember how often he shifted blame, dodged accountability. And I realize, I didn't destroy anything. I just stepped away from the lie. The truth didn't save anyone. It didn't make anything better. It didn't bring justice or clarity. It just existed, harsh, uninvited, real. But lies aren't better. Lies are poison on a slow drip. Today was Sophie's birthday. She turned 7. Kate invited everyone. I was surprised to be included. No explanation, no commentary. Just a message from her sister. Sophie would love to see you. I went. I brought a drawing kit, something she'd wanted. My hands were shaking, but I smiled. Balloons, cake, kids yelling. Running. Sophie hugged me tight, and I almost lost it. Mia handed me a card she drew herself. Giant, crooked letters spelling, "Thank you." I sat in the corner on a tiny plastic chair, holding a paper cup of juice, watching Kate laugh. Genuinely. No tension in her face, no forced smile. She was talking to a man, handsome, calm, maybe mid-30s. He held a plate of cake, said something that made Sophie giggle. Kate touched his arm lightly, the way you do when you're comfortable with someone. I looked away. It hurt, but it wasn't the sharp kind anymore. Not jealousy, not resentment, just a warm, quiet ache. The kind you feel when you realize something is truly over. I didn't go up to her. Didn't say anything. No thank you. No sorry. I waited until things were winding down, said goodbye to the kids, left the gift on the table, and stepped outside. The street was quiet, late September, leaves already falling. I walked slowly, breathing in the cool air, and felt something inside go still, not from sadness, but from peace. I don't know if I became a hero. But I know one thing for sure. I don't stay silent anymore.